Winter conditions can make even simple activities risky. Icy sidewalks, snowy parking lots, and slippery roads all increase the chance of head injuries. But today, we're joined by personal injury attorney Katie Tucker, and she'll talk all about brain injuries and why they're often overlooked. How are you today?
I'm excellent. Great to see you again, Rochelle.
Yes.
Thanks for having me.
And thank you for joining us today, because this is a really important topic.
Yeah.
When people hear the words brain injury, you would think you would know if you have one right off the bat, right away, but that's not always the case. Can you tell us why?
Yeah, you're exactly right. Brain injury is actually often called an invisible injury because there are not always overt or external physical signs of injury as you might have if you have a broken leg, right? Mm-hmm. Likewise, there are not always obvious internal signs of injury. Brain injury doesn't often show up on scanning or imaging, and the symptoms and signs can be far more subtle. So it's really critical, if you think you may have sustained a brain injury or have sustained some traumatic injury to the head, that you look out for signs and symptoms of head injury like neurofatigue, headaches, difficulty sleeping, difficulty with concentration. There's a whole host of symptoms to kind of watch out for, but it is an invisible injury in many ways, and that's what makes it tough to identify.
But what makes those winter accidents especially risky when it does come to traumatic brain injury?
Rochelle, with winter accidents, we're often thinking about slip and fall right on ice, and we're hitting a hard pavement with our head. Likewise, with winter car crashes, they're often higher velocity, higher impact, which leads to more serious head injury. But even, it's really important to know, even with a lower impact or lower speed crash, you can still sustain a traumatic brain injury. There's a wide range of injury from mild to severe, and a wide range of symptoms that accompany that injury. If you're injured in any sort of incident involving an impact to your head, it's very possible that you could sustain a closed head injury and require medical care.
Well, why is that early diagnosis, Katie, so not only important but really critical in situations like this?
Early diagnosis with brain injury is really critical because continuing your normal course of activity can actually worsen your injury and delay your recovery and progress. It's really important, if you're noticing any of those signs or symptoms that I mentioned, and certainly to consult with your doctor to learn more, but abnormal fatigue, headaches, dizziness, loss of concentration, all can be signs and symptoms that something is wrong, and diagnosing that early, identifying activities that you shouldn't be participating in, avoiding those activities, it can be really critical. And it's really critical to get the care early, because untreated brain injury can lead to really significant long-term effects on emotional regulation, on your behaviors, cognitive function, and overall quality of life.
Yeah. And like you said, they're simple, they're subtle, but as soon as you start noticing those signs, it's imperative that you start getting that medical care as soon as possible. But from a legal perspective, Katie, what should someone do if they do suspect a brain injury has occurred? I know we said get that medical attention, but is there any other steps that we need to make sure we do right away?
In addition to following up with your doctor and following their recommendations, documenting what's going on, so documenting any days of missed school, missed work, and how the injury is affecting your daily life, your activities of daily living, documenting that in some way, and then consulting with a lawyer. Most personal injury law firms will offer a free consultation and really want to consult with a lawyer who's familiar with traumatic brain injury and understands the long-term implications and can help you navigate the legal process and obtain recovery that compensates you for that injury and ensures that you have the medical care that you're probably going to need over a long period of time.
Yeah, I had a doctor once say to me, sometimes you need to keep a notebook of all the different things that you're feeling on a day-to-day basis. And like you said, hey, maybe you are suffering from a traumatic brain injury. You may forget that you've had that symptom in the very beginning versus 2 weeks later.
Absolutely.
So all of this information that you've given to us, like I always say, it is always so important to know. We always hope that we don't need it, but hey, just in case, it's important to have these things in our back pocket for when we do need them. So thank you, Katie, so much for joining us here today, and you can check out WILX.com because we're going to have all that information. Plus, you can rewatch this interview again. But thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Rochelle. Always great to be with you. I really appreciate the time.